Hello everyone, happy 2022. This is my second time recording this, and I feel like the first time was because I actually missed quite a lot of things, even though it was a 40-minute video. And yeah, I just felt to give you a little update on my feelings and my takes on what is moving through the world right now, what is kind of shifting energetically, what's becoming alive and online, and just to give you like my feelings of the trajectory of things. We'll say like my predictions of what's going on. It's funny, this like idea of prediction. I really, when I feel into like, if I'm to predict something or to try and know what's going on or what's coming, it's like we have this need for this like information of like, tell me what the future holds so that I can feel myself in relation to it and kind of like seeking safety. So I don't really like to speak anything into anyone's awareness, because that's me like casting spells basically on you. But what I can do is give you my feeling on like what a prediction is and what I'm feeling moving through right now. And I would say for me, it's like when you shift through certain layers of awareness, or you lift illusions that you might be living through, you start to get more access to like the wider space and the wider you. And this allows you to kind of feel and know the shifts that are happening on a global level. So we're all riding this wave and we're all swimming in this like ocean of awareness. And some people are at a certain point in the wave and other people at a different point. And if you understand the waves of like what comes and goes on a polarized level, you can kind of project further down along that wave and see or let people know or share what direction that might take. And we always have free will in relation to everything. So I might speak something here that I feel is happening because it's already in motion, and I can project my energy down certain timelines to feel what might happen on this timeline, or the timeline that the collective are living or playing out, the story that we're collectively playing out. But it's very important to remember that you all have your own free will on this collective timeline, and we all have our own free choices. So take what resonates for you in what I share and leave the rest. Just completely trust yourself fully on what you're feeling and what's moving through you. And some things will resonate and some things won't. But I'm just here to share my feelings and my take on what's moving through the awareness or the world right now. And I'm really feeling firstly that like 2022, the 2-2 is the year of balance. And it feels to me like a balancing of the inner and the outer space, and also a balancing in relationships. And this is the relationship to yourself and also the relationship to others. So what's inside is outside anyway. And I feel more awareness coming in around this. And I also feel a balancing of topics. What we've been experiencing in the world a lot over the last few years is this intense polarization of like right versus wrong, and you know, certain sides being division, and like black versus white. Like literally it's this polarization of this side or this side. And I feel a swing of like understanding that it's learning about embodiment and bringing everything back to the center and becoming the center point of all of it, so that you're not swayed by one side or the other, that you kind of step a layer above what's actually going on and feel deeply into yourself. So I feel like an embodiment of balance becoming available, so that we can start to learn that if we swing towards one side, we're always missing the other side. So it's not about choosing sides or living one way. It's about learning how to embody every way and learning how to embody what's needed in any moment, in any space. And in order to embody what's needed, we need to become fully in ourselves, fully and fully centered in ourselves, or we'll say self-centered. And this is a topic that's kind of come up. And I really like to watch these topics kind of showing up collectively for me, like in the circles that I'm running and the groups and the people that I'm coaching or mentoring. I don't like the word coach. And self-worth and self-love has just risen to the surface over the last few weeks. And it really feels like it's here to help people to get back to their center, to feel and fulfill and fill themselves in fully, so that you can feel fully, so that you can operate from a full feeling space. And I really feel this like coming in, like this next level, fully embodied human being walking the earth, fully connected to themselves. Like this is what's coming online or becoming apparent or available right now. But there's a lot of stuff to work through or to realize, to be able to get to that space. Fully embodied, walking the earth, fully connected to yourself, therefore fully connected to everything else. It sounds amazing, but I really feel it. Like I feel like now is the time and things are moving very quickly. So yeah, the first thing that kind of comes in for 2022, and I did an update like this last year, and what I felt, and it transpired. I mean, what we predict always transpires anyway for ourselves, because we're already feeling the timeline for ourselves. But last year I felt this shift, if you've watched it, from earth energy, this material world, into more of an air, kind of electric, higher awareness, higher consciousness, less grounded, kind of less material world. And this definitely happened over the course of last year in my experience, in my world, in my life. I saw a big shift into like people suddenly waking up to their wider self and to higher awarenesses and higher levels of consciousness, and more of a connection to spirit and more of a connection to energy and to the invisible realm. And what came with this as well was like a lot of ungroundedness. And we let go of a lot of material and a lot of systems and a lot of ways that we were living as well. And even on a global level, I said this last year, that what was happening was we were going to be pushed to let go of how we were living and how we saw the world, and like the way the government's set up, the way schools are set up, banking systems, like it's all in flux at the moment. And there's a big destruction like been happening over the last few years of this. And when I tuned in this year to kind of what was coming in on an energy level of what was needed or what was happening or going to happen next, and it really feels like this shift from that air, kind of higher awareness, higher mind energy, back to the earth. And this feels to me like we've gone up and gotten the messages from our higher selves and from this like wider awareness of like waking up to who we actually are. And now we're to pull them back down and create something in this physical body, in this material world, in this 3D realm that is of a higher, wider awareness, more expansive, more conscious kind of level of truth. So it feels like we've gotten the messages and we're bringing them back down. So I feel this energy of bringing things back down into form now, so that we can consciously create our lives from a different space, from a more fulfilling, fully embodied, well felt, well considered space. And in order to do that, we have to become more present and more feeling in our bodies, and we have to slow down. So one of the big messages now I'm getting is like the world has gotten very complicated and very fast. Like that air kind of frequency, that electricity that I was really feeling all of last year, it's still here now. Like nothing is like last year versus this year, but there are shifts happening that I'm aware of or I can feel. And that kind of electricity energy, it made things very fast changing and ungrounded and complicated, and a lot of ideas and dreams and kind of a lot of complexity to do with thinking. And I feel like a simplicity coming in and pulling down like the dreams and the downloads and the ideas and bringing them into form and taking empowered action. And we just have to look now at what's in the way of us taking that empowered action. And what usually comes up is like our fears around what it means to go for your dreams or to take action on your dreams, or like what we're holding on to. So there's going to be no more space to hold on to anything. And what I like actually, before I move on to that, about this shift from like air back to earth, it feels like new. Like we'll say like people talk about the new earth. I feel like that's what this is. This is like a complete clean slate to create something completely new. And it's a big opportunity for us to really dream big and not put any limits on ourselves. But when I feel into this stuff, I always then end up checking like the astrology to see if it ties in or to see where the links are. So I don't really go to these like knowledge bases for information. I kind of tune into my own feelings and intuition and what's happening in my awareness. And what happens is the astrology usually confirms what I'm feeling. And this year, it's been funny because when I tuned into the astrology, what's actually happening in January is Mercury's in retrograde again, or going into this week actually. I think it's the 14th, but anyway. And it's Capricorn and Aquarius is moving through. And retrograde means reverse, so it's Aquarius to Capricorn. And that's air sign to earth sign. And actually when I check the full year, all of the retrogrades are going from air sign to earth sign, which is very interesting because it really is this push of pulling down the higher awareness or the wider light bulbs and the wider consciousness, or like the things that we've become conscious of and the bigger dreams, pulling them down into form now and really creating from this new space, this unknown space. And what's coming up for people is this unknown space. In that space of darkness, it's very uncertain, it's unknown, it's new. And we have to stop trying to know. We have to start feeling our way forward and trusting our intuition. So I'm really feeling this year as well, or now, a massive shift away from trying to know and breaking away from the fear of letting go of what we know, so that we can feel and we can tune in and we can be more in our intuition and we can operate from that space rather than the space of knowledge. So this feels like the external to the internal shift. So we've been busy trying to learn everything, to know everything so that we're safe and we know enough and we know what we're doing and we have a plan. And I feel like we're going to be pushed to let go of all of that and let go of planning and to feel our way forward. And this feels like going from production to creation, from the industrial to humanness, and from linear to more non-linear approach. We're cyclical in nature. We go through cycles. We're not supposed to be robotic. And what comes up in this as well is like structure and like all of the crutches that you have in to make you more productive. So like your morning routine and like how you live your life and how you feel like you should show up. This is like making us more robotic. And this is like, there's been such a huge rise of artificial intelligence. And it is just that, artificial. We are not supposed to be robots. We are much more magical and much more expansive than this robot. And we've like absolutely glorified robotics and technology. And we've really invented really amazing things with technology. But also we have this like now almost religion of trust in science and technology over ourselves and over our humanness. So I really feel like this has a limit, definitely, because it's funny because we're externalizing what we have on the inside on a magic kind of level. We have the ability to be all of that on the inside and way more. So there's so much more that we're not connecting to as humans, that we're so much wider than what we already know. And we can only discover that if we let go of what we know to be true, and we let go of our limits and our beliefs of what we know to be true or how we think we should live our lives. And what comes up in the mix of this is like to really check and to feel in for yourself with like your routines, your morning routines, your daily routine, what you have in your life that are little kind of propping up or like soothing or coping mechanisms to help you to feel better or to make you more productive or whatever it is. And to really start to check, well, do I really like doing that? Or am I doing it because I think I should do it? Am I really feeling that? Or am I forcing myself to go through that? So this goes for things that are healthy, like training, meditation, any kind of practices that help you function. If they're avoiding your feelings on some level and you're not listening to what you actually want or what you feel in the mix of it, I feel like this will be hit absolutely on the head. You will not be able to cope anymore, to use coping mechanisms or to avoid your deeper feelings. So if you have any practices in that seem healthy, but they're actually taking or distracting you from feeling, I feel like that will come up and slap you this year. So there's going to be no avoiding our feelings this year. And this is what I'm really like tuning into. And I'm seeing it in my awareness with the people that I'm working with and everything. It just feels like it's coming online where people finally connect to the value in feeling themselves, because we've been sent into this world of confusion of knowledge and what's right and wrong and good and bad and positive and negative, this like polarities, like I've been saying. And actually it's all disempowering you and taking you away from trusting yourself. So what comes with like learning how to feel your feelings is trust. You start to learn how to trust what you feel over what somebody else tells you. And I want you to listen to this video and trust what you feel in relation to it, to question it, to feel, does that feel true? Does that feel empowering or disempowering? And just check whether your energy is expanding and contracting. And it's that simple. We always have our inner space speaking to us about what feels right for us. But we learn how to ignore it. We've been disempowered to not trust our feelings. And it's like handing our power over to all of this external stuff. It's time to call all of that back in. if we want to be fully embodied, this fully embodied next level human, we have to start feeling our inner space and listening to it and trusting it, instead of feeling from the head and thinking that we know the way forward or that we're doing the right thing, instead of just listening to ourselves and what your deep inner space is telling you. Your intuition is always speaking to you. So I'm really feeling this like calling back of the intuition and this birth of the higher consciousness, really like wide open. But what I'm feeling first in January is much more like we're still in hibernation. So I feel like December was hibernation, but a lot of people in December get pulled by partying or Christmas celebrations. And it's kind of interesting that Christmas is about partying and celebrating, because really that time of year is about going in and not being so external. And again, for some reason in society, we've created a way to escape that, because people are afraid of what's in that inner space and that darkness. It's like afraid of going deep into the feelings in case we might feel something that we don't want to feel. And we put in things like alcohol to soothe and avoid and cope and take us out of it. So what's still here in January now really feels like, and I've been like talking to a lot of my friends in my circle, and they're all feeling the same, that we're in this hibernation space still. So if you haven't hit the ground running in January, don't worry. There is still plenty of time this year to get into that. And I feel like the energy, or what's available right now, is much more checking in with your inner space and feeling it and allowing yourself to take time to take care of yourself. You are the center of your universe, and this is about becoming self-centered, and not in like the judgment is like selfish or greedy way. It's about actually taking care of your inner space so that you can show up as the most full, the most expansive, the most absolutely fully living, fully feeling, exuberant human that you can be, so that everyone benefits from you being fully empowered. And it also gives an example of what that's like for everybody else to mirror it if they choose to mirror it. So yeah, it feels like January is a time to take care of yourself still, to also have a look at, like, if I feel into January, I feel like there's this reservoir. And if I feel myself, it's like this building a reservoir of energy. And we've been like probably becoming quite stagnant over the last few years from staying so still, like stiffened from fear or just the lack of being able to move around the world. Like there's more of a stillness kind of available. And in this stillness, you can really like find your inner space. So it is about slowing down and getting still and being more present so that you can actually feel. Because if we're always running away from ourselves and we're always on the move, we can't actually feel what's going on, because we're not still enough to get present enough to become more aware of what's happening in the space. And this is like the matrix where everything slows down. So if you train a practice of presence over meditation, because meditation can be used as a coping mechanism to feel better or spiritually bypass yourself or change your state, like state changers, like NLP, CBT, these practices to help rewire and bypass the feelings. All of this stuff is really good to kind of look at why you're doing it and what's the intention and what's it bringing to you, because a lot of it can be, while it gets you through a certain period of time, it doesn't serve you in the long run, because it's actually bypassing the feelings, which are everything when it comes to growth and to moving forward and to expanding as a human and to feeling and living more fully. So yeah, I feel like January is this reservoir, or like the womb space still. And it's kind of time, if we look, and I've seen this like collective topic come up with the girls in my coaching circle, especially around self-worth right now. Over the last few weeks, it's just risen. And I love to watch these flows of like wider topics that come in at once. And it really feels like, check your reservoir and check like any energy leakages. So where your energy has been siphoned from you, where you're overgiving yourself, where you're taking responsibility for other people, where you're codependent, where you want other people to be emotionally responsible for you. All of this stuff is draining you and leaking and taking energy from you. So anything you're giving your energy to that you no longer want to do, it's time to cut it, and it's time to allow yourself to fill the reservoir up so these leaks aren't happening, so that you can come to an overfill, an overflow. And this is the abundance of you taking care of yourself and your vessel first, becoming more full and connected to yourself, and then giving from that overspill instead of giving from an empty space. So I'm really feeling that is important to take in and kind of pay attention to, like input versus output. So when we talk about 2022 and becoming balanced, it's really to look at the balance of the inner and the outer, and the balance of the giving and the taking, or the giving and the receiving. So it's to make sure that you're in balance energetically. And this goes on a money level. When we overspend ourselves on an energy level, we also overspend our money to try and make up for it. And we end up with this low self-worth, or like not having enough. And all of these topics link in. So self-worth, self-love, self-trust, it all links into your abundance. If you're not full, and if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not abundant. You can't be, because you're not taking care. You're not saying, I deserve it and I want it and I give myself what I want. So if you learn to put yourself first and give yourself what you want first, you're sending the message straight out to the universe of, I deserve it and I have it straight away. It's like instant manifestation of that. When we get over the idea or the fears around doing that, we might fear that people will judge us, or people won't like us, or we'll lose people from our lives. And what happens if you do happen to have that over-giving, oversharing energy, you attract people who want to take from you because they're in fear and survival. It's not from like a malicious place. It's just that they have an energy deficit. So you don't attract balance. And this comes to relationships as well. You end up attracting people who are in fear and survival. When you have an overspill and you're able to generate a lot from doing a lot, usually from like over-giving and overworking yourself, you attract people who don't have that, and they end up kind of being one of those leaks in your reservoir. When you fill this in and you stop over-giving and you become more balanced on an input-output level, you then attract more balance on the outside. And our fears around doing that is that we'll lose the people that are in our lives that we currently have on a relational level that are kind of not happy for you to be balanced because they enjoy the overflow. And actually, it's the most empowering thing to allow those people to go and become more personally responsible for themselves. It's like giving them an opportunity to become more sovereign and more empowered, because this is all like power dynamics and power shifts. So it's to know that actually it's a very loving thing to do, to let these people go, or let anything go that is a drain on your energy that doesn't feel good. So this is about really getting into decluttering your life and feeling what you no longer want to allow in your stream. So if we just feel into it being water and streams of energy, it's like, where are the leaks? How can I plug them? How can I allow myself to fill myself back up by asking myself what I want? As I said that, it was 2222 on the video. I love those little kind of reminders. And yeah, it's about getting uncomfortable, actually. So all change is uncomfortable. Becoming someone new is uncomfortable. Feeling your feelings is uncomfortable. And we have to push ourselves through some discomfort to grow and to expand. So it's to know that it goes on an energetic, emotional level as well. It's not just physical, that all change is uncomfortable. So this is about being brave and courageous and operating from truth and from hurt, like from that heart space for love for you and for love for everybody else. That you start to honor yourself and respect yourself and take care of yourself and trust yourself and fill yourself back in, and trust that what's inside appears outside. So this elusive, like never having people in your awareness that feel like they do what you do for them. This means you're just imbalanced on an energetic level. You're not welcoming in receiving. You're not able to operate on that balanced space because you're not being balanced with yourself. So this is really learning how to take care of yourself. And I feel January is a very big focus for this for me, even with the girls that I'm working with. I just feel like intensely focusing on this, filling yourself back in, so that from February and the rest of the year, and I don't feel like it'll be directly February, it's like nothing is very like, it's waves, so it happens for you at the right time, that we can kick into this new action, empowered action energy, that we're really moving from like a fully felt certain space. And sorry, my video ran out of space. I'm not having luck with technology today. But I trust I just needed a breath or a breather. So yeah, I was just saying, all of this kind of filling ourselves up and like clearing out what is not serving your highest good anymore will allow space for you to consciously create what you actually want, and even just create space for you to feel what you want and how you want to live moving forward. So it is like learning how to get into the feeling body is number one. And I feel like that is my number one focus for everyone that I'm working with this year. How to feel yourself, how to listen to yourself, how to trust yourself, how to love yourself, how to fill yourself in so that you can be full feeling, fully embodied, fully here on this earth, fully living your life and fully enjoying your life right here and right now in the present moment. I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to live. We're here to feel fully, and we're here to feel everything and experience everything. And I really feel like what's been going on like a global level is like we've been busy at war with each other, and we're actually at war with ourselves. And this kind of intensity that's happening of like hitting each other, like it's been like kind of digitally bashing each other, but there's also this physical riots and like kind of a war energy happening of like real like abuse or hate or like wanting to attack each other in this polarized world. And what I feel is coming from this is that when we find ourselves on one side of that and we're like hitting someone on the other side and trying to hurt them and trying to beat them down and tell them they're wrong and cause harm to them, when we hit someone with that intensity, we're actually hitting ourselves, and we actually eventually start to feel what we're doing, or we start to feel our actions, and we start to feel like, oh, that didn't feel good, or the person on the receiving end is like, oh, that hurt. So we're like intensely fighting each other to try and pull the feelings up. So it's all working in perfect harmony. It's all working for the highest good. It feels like the highest level of waking people up. And some people just need that intensity of hurt. Like I feel hurt, or I'm hurting someone else and I feel that I've hurt them. But it takes a vulnerability and an expression of that hurt. You know, if you're able to say, you know what, that really hurt, like and feel it and express the pain that you're feeling. It's like learning how to express and not being afraid to express what's on the inside gives you deeper access to your feelings. So it's all working towards making us feel ourselves deeper. And what's going to come up in relation to us not feeling ourselves, and even that phrase, I don't feel myself, when we get sick, we say that. We say, I don't feel myself. And that's telling you directly that you're not feeling yourself, you're not feeling well. And what happens when we get sick, which is kind of interesting with COVID, that everybody's getting sick, we're being pushed to feel ourselves deeper. So even with like things like depression, we're being pushed down into our darkness to feel ourselves and to feel what's going on. And if we try and escape that or avoid that or medicate it or pull ourselves out of it, and we try and change it and change our state because it's uncomfortable to be in that darkness and to be in that depth of feeling, and we try and get away from it as quickly as possible, we're going to miss the lesson. So we're going to keep getting pushed back down on some levels to feel. So I feel this year, we're not going to be able to escape ourselves. We're not going to be able to escape our feelings. And anything that is in the way of that is going to come up and leave our awareness, or going to come up for you to look at. And this includes coping mechanisms, like I was mentioning earlier about like, they can be healthy. It can be exercise or meditation or NLP or CBT. Like these are things that help us bypass our feelings or change our feelings or cope. And while they're useful and they're beneficial, it's kind of looking at your intention behind everything and what you might be missing. Sorry, is my phone or my laptop going off? And what you might be missing. And things that are in the way of that are things like on like a material kind of substance level, coffee, like stimulants, they're state changers. So the first thing in the morning is I need a coffee, and that coffee changes your state. And anyone who knows me or who's been following me for a long time will know that I was obsessed with coffee before. Like I used to make a video every morning of my coffee, and I just loved the experience of it and the ritual of it. But when I got sick, and I feel like I had COVID before it was a thing, I was really, really sick with all of the same symptoms for 3 weeks. And during that time, and this is where I really felt COVID was like a blessing, it cleaned me out completely energetically. But during that time, I stopped drinking coffee because I just was completely turned off it. I didn't want it. And afterwards, I wasn't able to drink it again. It just did not come back into my awareness. So I was left with this, like letting go of the identity of who I was without coffee. Like I had to just let go of it. And I feel like it's not going to happen everybody, but it will happen some people, that they suddenly realize that like coffee is not as interesting, or it's not doing it for them anymore, or any other stimulants or like coping mechanisms, or like binge eating, or like using sugar to soothe, or food, or whatever it is. All of this stuff is going to come up for clearing, and it might intensify before it becomes comes into the light. So it might get worse before it gets better. And this goes for alcohol as well. And it's not like I'm demonizing any of these things. It's more that like to check your intention for why you might drink or why you might use them. And with alcohol, it's interesting because if you're using it as a celebration, and the intention is I celebrate, it's not to like feel less, it's to enjoy the moment and to really use it in that intentional way, I feel like that's fine. Like you're connected to yourself, you're connected to the intention of why you're drinking or why you're choosing to do something, and you're feeling it, and you're not just doing it to escape, to soothe, to avoid yourself. So it's really checking like your personal relationship with any substances or food or any elements that you're using, like I was saying, practices or anything that are kind of escaping or bypassing yourself. And this is kind of where we've gone with meditation as well. I see like a lot of people spiritually bypassing through spiritual practices where it looks like self-care, but actually a lot of it is still in visualization and not in feeling. So it gets you more out of your body instead of more into your feelings. So if you are doing practices like that, it's kind of like, or to have spiritual experiences can also be a way to bypass yourself. And this includes plant medicine. Like a lot of the spiritual world will get very ungrounded and very lost sometimes in that like floaty kind of space, very unrooted, because they're escaping some deeper feelings or escaping being fully here in the body. And I feel like the magic or the key to being human is being able to experience everything through the body. We are gifted with this body, and we're getting this like finite time in this vessel to explore what's here and to like pull down all of this spiritual experience and live it through the body. So it's not about escaping into a different realm or like trying to not be human and this, or trying to not be in the physical. And like there's like all of these spiritual practices around letting go and becoming nobody. Yeah, there's a place for it, and I think it's more towards the end of your life where you're fully done creating, you're fully done experiencing it and exploring this body and exploring what it means to be human. And then you can kind of take yourself more towards, well, I'm done now and I'm ready to kind of transcend and let go of this life. But I really feel like if we're chasing that or desiring that enlightenment or desiring that non-desiring state of like the gurus or the sages or, you know, the monks, the monk lifestyle, that we can completely disconnect from life and from being able to function and live as a human. So I really feel like becoming more embodied and more personally responsible and more full as a human and feeling more in your body is very important right now and very important to connect to. And it is my focus on everyone that I'm kind of working with or guiding to bring them back to feeling themselves fully. And a lot of stuff comes up when we go into trying to feel ourselves. We have to look at like, I feel like we have to simplify for number one. Like I said, everything has gotten very complex. And this comes from like overthinking and overdoing and feeling like we need to do more. And actually I feel like we need to simplify and do less. So really checking in with how much you're doing and how much you can kind of simplify your life and declutter your life. And this is on a material level and also on like a doing level of like how many practices you have, how much you actually want to do any of it, how complicated it is, can you simplify it? And also looking at like when we talk about coping mechanisms of like checking how much input versus output's going on. So how much you're consuming other people's lives and other people's creations and how much you're getting pulled into the portal of the phone or the computer or the TV or whatever is happening versus how much you're in creation and in connection to yourself and your own vessel and your own life and your own creativity and what you're here to express. So how much you're not expressing yourself and how much you're listening to others. So it's about learning how to listen to yourself and express and create and really checking like how much of your time is spent on consuming versus creating or coping versus creating. So really becoming more self-aware, becoming self-aware of your habits and your patterns, how you're living your life. Are you living it stuck in your phone, consuming other people's lives, distracting yourself and escaping? Or are you using social media in a healthy way to express yourself or to share or to create or to put out there what you're doing or to be inspired? So really, again, checking the intention and then checking your relationship with all of this external stuff. How much you're getting demagnetized to other people. You're getting magnetized to other people and demagnetized from yourself. So part of becoming fully here, fully present, fully sovereign, fully embodied, and that next level human is about getting magnetic and becoming magnetized to yourself and checking anytime anything or anyone pulls you away from your center. And this is about you becoming that wizard in the center of the storm, in the eye of the storm, and you can see everything moving around you and you feel good there. You feel solid, you feel connected to yourself. You're not looking to other people to tell you what to do. You know deeply inside of yourself, you're connected to why you're here, to your creation, to what you're doing. And it definitely feels like a big year of creation and dreaming big and not limiting yourself, and really like becoming inspired and bringing newness to the world, like bringing something down that's never been seen before and living through this newness. So that's definitely like becoming available. The more we can let go of old ways and let go of how we used to live, the more we can kind of welcome in this newness. And it just feels like that has to be the most exciting in this unknown space, the most exciting thing that you can connect to, the absolute potential of the darkness, the potential of the unknown. And if you can connect to that and the excitement of the unknown and what's outside of your awareness, that's the space where all the magic can come in, and where you can create something really fulfilling and magical and have your own creation, nourish yourself fully. What you're doing in this world, your purpose, have it come online, have it come in. And you don't need to know. You do not need to follow a plan. You don't need somebody else to tell you how to do that. We all have the ability to dream and to bring into form what we really want. We just have limits and beliefs in the way that we can't do that. So this year feels like a big shaking up, waking up, and letting go of limits. We are limitless. That fully embodied next level human is limitless and really believes in themselves, is magnetized to themselves, fully trusting themselves, is honest, is integral, is connected. And you realize that you're not separate to the people around you. And this is where you become wider. You realize that separation is an illusion, and that you are always connected. You're always walking this earth connected to everything. Everything, every step you take has an effect on the field. Every action you take has a reaction. You're not separate from this world, from this big ocean of awareness that we're swimming in. So it's to realize that on a karmic level, everything comes back to you as well. So it's kind of a good year to clean up karma, because karma is in the way and it's holding us back. So anything that feels unresolved on, and I say it's a good year to do this, it's always a good time to do this. It's not just this year, but I feel like because we're shaking up to new levels, it's kind of a good time to check in karmically what might be left unresolved that you're not looking at. So anything that you're ignoring, you're running away from, it's actually still an energy drain because it's still somehow in your awareness. So it's good to bring to light anything that you're hiding from or running from, because very often that thing that we're running from is subconsciously driving our decisions and our actions. And if we have that in our field, it's very hard to fully feel what you want and take empowered action, because you might be running away from something. So unresolved relationships or finances or something that you're hiding from, it's really good to clean all of that up, bring it into light and transform it, alchemize it, so that you can fuel yourself fully and come from a really clean, empty space to create from that pure potential of like complete newness. So allowing yourself to tidy up and do some house cleaning this year to welcome back that energy that might be unconsciously lost to whatever that is. So yeah, it really feels like empowered action is coming online this year. And a lot of things that will come up that are in the way of that will just be fears. Fear of change, fear of being uncomfortable, fear of letting go of what is, fear of dying, fear, survival stuff kicks in. And it really, like, all of the magic happens when you step into that space of the unknown and you say, I trust. And when you start to show up for yourself fully and you say, I deserve it, and filling that in on a deeply felt level, you will just watch how when you shift your inner space, your outer space just responds and gives you everything that you've been holding from yourself. Because we have this ability to surrender and to say, I trust, but we keep ourselves from doing that out of fear. And it's okay, we've been living in this massive fear bubble for a long time, and it's been spun everywhere that we should be afraid of each other and we should be afraid of this, that, and the other. But it's up to us to take on a fear, or to say it's not true, and to say, I trust, I surrender, I follow the flow. And all of the magic also comes when we're able to surrender and let go and say, I trust, to stop trying to control. Control comes from here, trying to stay safe. We can't control our creation. We can set a direction. We can get connected to the seed of the intention of it. But it's best not to try and control it, and to allow it to flourish and to allow yourself to flourish. So not trying to control relationships, Because what happens when we try to control something, we hold on to it and it starts to feel like, if it's a person, they start to feel gripped and not free. So if we want to feel free, we have to let go of control. And that's uncomfortable, it's scary. So it's kind of going gently with yourself through the process of like bringing to light what you're afraid of and what you're avoiding, and allowing yourself to come online fully and be fully present and fully feeling, and allowing yourself time and space to slow down and feel what you're not feeling. And this is the key. Feel your feelings, and everything from that space starts to fill in. Self-love, self-trust, fully feeling, fully embodied, fully online, able to desire, able to connect, able to manifest from feeling. Like I said, if we're feeling worried, we're going to attract more worry. If we're feeling afraid, we're going to attract more frightening experiences. Whereas if we're feeling desire for something, and you'll all have experiences of where you really desired something and you got it. So it's like focusing on what you want instead of what you don't want. And in order to really be that like fully embodied manifesting human, we need to focus on what we want and our feelings and our desires, and allow ourselves permission to want something. Ask yourself what you do want, and focusing on that, and focusing on feeling well, and getting rid of any crutches. There's no space for crutches anymore, for propping yourself up. It's like letting go of all of the beliefs around what we think we should do and what we feel like we need to do, and allowing yourselves to just do what you want. And this isn't in a reckless way. This is doing what you want in a very loving, very fulfilling, very taking care of yourself way. And stop looking for somebody else to take care of you, and start taking that into your own power to be personally responsible for your own self-love and your own feelings. And that is when we become completely independent, so that we can be interdependent and welcome in the balanced relationships that are available in 2022. And this is what people might describe as like the twin flame. And if you've done the work on yourself to fill yourself in on those levels, that is a given that will come to you. And we only have fears or beliefs that that's not true, or it's not possible, or we don't deserve it. And we probably don't have many examples of what that looks like, because as a collective, we're going through rebalancing the whole time. And it's really as well, like whatever I'm speaking here and the timelines or the timings that I might be saying about it, if you don't feel that time, like say I'm saying there's a new energy available in February. Like last year, there was a big rebirth energy available in January. And I knew it was there, I could feel it, but I was completely railroaded by how much I was doing for so long. And I needed a lot more time to just be still and integrate and feel what was going on. And it took maybe 4 or 5 months of like really letting go and doing nothing. And I really needed it. And I'm so glad that I took it as well. Like I did minimal, and I didn't create for that time, because I had to feel what was missing, why I wasn't connected to creating. And if you are in a conscious creation, or you're getting more and more conscious, you'll realize that you can't create from an unconscious space. And what I really discovered was I was missing the self-love to say I create because I love. I love myself. I love creation. I want to show up. I want to create something amazing in this world. I want to have impact. I want to express myself. And I had to wait for that feeling, and it didn't come until like later. So even though an energy might be available, or a wave, an energy wave is available for you to ride in the new year, it doesn't mean that it's the time for you. So listen to your inner space, and listen to your own timeline, and listen to what you're feeling, so that you can take action yourself, more empowered action, or not take action, and listen and rest. We need to rest. Rest has been completely demonized in our world. You're lazy, you're not productive, you're this or that. This is all like, we're cyclical. We're supposed to have phases of rest and phases of action. We have seasons every month, especially like females, when you connect to like the cycles that we go through. Males have this as well. It's just less obvious, or it's less material. We have like spring, summer, autumn, winter every month. So it's allowing yourself to be less linear and less like a robot, and more cyclical, so that you can go through a phase of like, now I feel like doing a lot, and then maybe next week I really need a few days rest actually. And it's allowing yourself permission to rest. You're not failing if you're listening to what you need and what you feel. It's about being really creative and effective, rather than just being productive and forcing yourself to do something that you're not feeling. Excuse me. And this feels like force versus flow. And this feels like logic versus intuition as well. And it's kind of like learning how to balance action versus inaction. So again, it's about balance and learning how to be in the midpoint, and allowing yourself permission to be on both sides and not always be in action, because eventually we just get railroaded and we get exhausted, and then we get sick because we need to rest because we're not listening to our feelings. So yeah, a new state of feeling, presence, slowing down, feeling deeply what you want, and then discovering what's in the way of that, discovering what comes up in that space when you're starting to feel yourself. What happens when you dip your toe into feeling? Because a lot of people have been busy avoiding the feelings because it's uncomfortable sometimes. And then when you come back out, it's being brave and letting go and taking a step into the unknown. And that is where all of the magic can unfold. And that is where you can change your life. All of the leaps of faith that I've ever taken, that I've ever said, I trust. They have been the biggest pivot points in my life and the biggest growth points and the biggest changes. So it's really, I can only say from my own experience that when you trust and when you take those steps and when you are brave and you take empowered action towards your dreams, all of the magic steps in for you. You become abundant, you become magnetic. People come to you because you are fully listening to yourself and you're magnetized to yourself, and that's attractive. That is the law of attraction. So yeah, I think that is probably enough and probably covers everything that I'm feeling around this year. So welcoming in balance, getting more present, slowing down, and listening to yourself instead of the complete chaos that is going on around you. Fully empowered, listening, fully feeling, fully online, fully embodied beings. If this video resonates with you, if you enjoyed it, like I said, take what resonates, leave anything that doesn't make sense to you, and take your own messages from it. It's just here to inspire you. If you feel anything, feel free to leave a comment or message me, and feel free to share it. Feel free to share it. Share whatever you feel to share. There's no obligation. I'm sending you loads of love, and I hope you have a great year, and I am going to be here pointing to this for the whole year. So get ready to listen to me continually point to feel your feelings. That is where the magic is. Thank you. Have a great day, and I will see you soon.